Hi guys, I've already spoken about my views on uh, the unnecessary nature of war, or the fact that I personally don't support a war with Pakistan at this point of time, or any point of time for that matter. Um, Let me elaborate on it a bit, and I want to start by saying that I'm extremely conscious of the fact that my views are not important. I'm just another guy. I'm just another guy with a smartphone which has a camera and a video recording facility and a YouTube channel which some people view. There are plenty of people with bigger followings. There are plenty of people who are politicians or celebrities, and their views are much more known and maybe more valid even. Their views may be much more studied. They may have more domain knowledge, they may have more experience about the business of war. So my opinion is just the opinion of one more guy. I'm just another guy with an opinion. And being Indians, we have to have an opinion on everything, and I'm just showing my Indianness here by having an opinion. So there is no vanity attached to this thing that I'm saying, and I don't intend to get into fights with a lot of people. And however, that said, I don't mind getting into fights either. That must be pretty evident from the way I talk and the way I conduct myself. I really don't mind it if you dislike what I'm going to say, and I would invite you to apply your mind to the individual points rather than applying your mind to judging me as to whether I am a good patriot, or whether I'm a fool, or whether I'm a Congressi, or whether I'm a Bhakt, or anything along those lines. Apply your mind to the logic of what I'm saying. If even one of my points makes some sense to you, then I think I will have succeeded in doing what I have set out to do. See, it is very easy for us to feel patriotic in a feel-good way. Okay, saying patriotic things is often an exercise in feel-good. If I may use the expression, it is a kind of mental masturbation. Okay, and yeah, I do like saying dirty things from time to time, so that's because I'm a dirty-minded guy. By now, that's pretty clear. Every Republic Day and every Independence Day, we like to feel the goosebumps, when we hear Lata Mangeshkar songs, and कर चले हम फिदा जानवतन साथियों, अब तुम्हारे हवाले वतन साथियों, and that fantastic patriotic music, and we like to feel vicariously that we are heroes at the border, and we have valiantly sacrificed our lives fighting the enemy's bullets. But we are not. And the fact of the matter is often that we are rather cowardly people, that we don't risk our lives. We don't even risk loss of reputation. Forget about our lives. We don't even risk loss of money. We don't fight the battles that are right here in front of us. We like to feel good about ourselves by saying that Indian soldiers should go to war against Pakistan, and we can win, and Sare Jahan se Acha Hindustan Hamara, and all that. So In this context, others before me have also had some beautiful thoughts, and I remember this song full of irony, dripping with irony. The song was like, Chino Arab Hamara, Hindustan Hamara, रहने को घर नहीं है, सारा जहां हमारा, चीनो अरब हमारा. It was sung at a long time back. And the irony of it was that we like to say, Sara Jahan Hamara, and everything belongs to us. And we like to think as if India is some kind of a large empire, and we like to say things like Sone ki chidiya, and we like to feel great. We salute the flag. There is a sense of patriotism. I appreciate patriotism. I don't appreciate the mental masturbation that goes with the feelings of patriotism that often happens. I don't appreciate the hypocrisy and the thoughtlessness and the feeling of hot-bloodedness that we feel. It's like drinking a glass of liquor and saying, I'm hot-blooded, I'm heroic. There's a name for that kind of heroism. It's called Dutch courage. Dutch courage is what a man feels after he is drunk and feels ready to take on the world. So quite often our heroic pronouncements, we say, we will fight anybody, we are better than anybody, we are better than Pakistan, we will teach Pakistan a lesson, we will teach those insurgents a lesson. Who is the we are talking about? Are you going to the border, my friends? Or are you going to send your son to the border? I don't think so. Are you going to send your brother to the border? Are you going to donate your wealth to the soldiers who are fighting at the border? I don't think so. Are you going to allow the soldiers to sleep in your house? Are you going to give them food and shelter? Are you going to give them your car to go to the border in? Will you drive the soldiers to the border in your car? Quite honestly, I don't think so. Most of the people who say, we should fight to the death, we should fight to the finish, we should avenge these 40 Jawans who died. Most of the guys who say all these things, most of these people who shout Bharat Mata Ki Jai and say that those who don't say Bharat Mata Ki Jai are not patriots. Most of the people who judge others and say Vande Mataram nahi gaate hain ye log, gaddar hain ye log. Most of them, maybe not you, but most of the people are not genuine patriots. They are just guys who like to feel good about themselves. Their display of patriotism in their own private lives, most of these people are not like that. Forget patriotic. Many of these people may not even be decent citizens. They are the same people who will take the easy way out. धंधे वाले हैं ये लोग, धंधा करते हैं हर चीज का. They are not patriots. Let's not go for the easy fixes. Apply your mind. And here's what I see. I'll tell you what I see. I don't expect anybody to agree with me, but I'll tell you what I see. In my view, the only person who is worth anything is a person who is alive today. Those who are dead are dead and gone. I am not saying that their sacrifice was worth nothing, but I am saying that we must not sacrifice the lives of those who are willing in the memory of those who are dead. 40 CRPF Jawans died today. They should not have died. They should have been better protected. Security arrangements should have been better. But that said, our military forces and our paramilitary forces consists of people who sign up for war and violence. They receive their salary for war and violence. To use the word martyr when a soldier dies stinks of hypocrisy. A soldier is not a martyr. A soldier is a soldier. A soldier is not less than a martyr. But let us not mix things up. A soldier is a soldier. A policeman is a policeman. Just because he is shot dead by a gangster suddenly doesn't make him a martyr. A policeman may shoot to kill. A policeman may be shot. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. It's an old rule. There's no rocket science here. But let us not confuse ourselves. Let us not make ourselves over sentimental. I mean, I understand the loss suffered by the families, the family members of all these people. Okay, and I am not for a moment downplaying their sorrow. But that said, anybody whose husband, any woman whose husband or whose son is in the army knows that there is always a possibility that one day he will come home wounded, or one day he will be shot dead. It's not a good thought. I'm not saying it is not a sacrifice, but I'm very clear about this. It's a job that people sign up for. Being in the army is a job that people sign up for. Just like being in the fire brigade is a job that people sign up for. When a firefighter dies in a blaze, I don't know, do we say he is a martyr? When the policeman dies in a mob violence, if someone hits him with a stone on his head and he dies, do we say the policeman is a martyr? A construction worker, and I'm not saying for a moment, I don't mean to denigrate anybody, but let's be clear about this. A construction worker or an engineer who does a dangerous job, who works on, let us say, an oil rig, someone who works with high tension power lines, for example, an electrician, someone who works for the electricity department, who dies because he worked on a power line, are you going to call him a martyr? He knowingly takes a risk. He knows what 25,000 volts will do to him. He may have many colleagues who have died when they received a shock. He may have seen them. And then, even after he sees his colleague die on a power line, on a high tension wire, What do you think the electrician does? What do you think this guy who works for the power company does? He goes back to the same power line. If something needs to be repaired, it needs to be repaired. He will repair it. There are railway workers. It's a risky job. Trains passing back and forth. People take risks. It's their job. They're paid a salary or sometimes a paltry daily wage. Even casual laborers. People take a risk and they go to work. Someone who's seen his colleagues die, it takes immense courage for him. It takes immense courage for him to go to work the next day and do the same work that killed his friends or colleagues. But people do that. They do all this without fanfare. They do it without receiving straight honors. People act courageously. And India is India. And for that matter, all of the world functions because people do act courageously. The courage of a soldier is not less than any of these people. But let us understand things very clearly. Being a soldier means having a clear understanding that you are going to be targeted, that you are taking a risk. And people take risks. People take risks and some of them die. Where am I going with all this? What I want to say is, just because 40 CRPF Jawans died does not mean 500 more or 1,000 more people or 2,000 more or 5,000 more people should die in an automatic act of retaliation. These 40 people are dead. Now, if we are asking for war, that is a mistake. And here is the reason. The reason it is a mistake is, life is not simple. It's not a one-shot affair. It is not a question of, there is no such thing as teaching a lesson to Pakistan once and for all. There is no such thing as teaching a lesson to Pakistan once and for all, or teaching a lesson to Kashmiri separatists once and for all. If we commit an act of war, if we do some such thing like a surgical strike or anything like that, it is not going to end there. It's going to continue. We hit them, they hit us. Then we hit them again and they hit us again. It continues. And I would like you to also remember that we hit them. If we hit them, there is no them and us. This them and us business is a bit of an illusion. On the other side of the border are people who are like Indians. They are our flesh and blood. The Sindhis who live in India have come from that side of the border. Many of the Punjabis who live in India have come from that side of the border. They have relations, they have family on that side of the border. The same holds true for people like Kachis who have come from Kutch. Kachis are not very different, Sindhis are not very different from Balochis. It's a very similar culture. The Punjab that is in Pakistan is not very different from the Punjab that's in India. We are the same people. We are divided by a border. We are divided by having different governments and maybe some difference in philosophy, but it's mostly historical. These are historical reasons. Let's not cultivate this us and them philosophy. The more we cultivate us and them, the more we think that we are morally superior, we Indians are morally superior, and they Pakistanis are morally inferior. We continue to create a situation where Pakistanis will die, where mothers will grieve and wives will grieve on the Pakistani side of the border, and mothers and wives will grieve on the Indian side of the border. And we just continue it. It's an illusion that it's going to end with one surgical strike or one teaching them a lesson kind of thing. There is no one single act of teaching anybody a lesson. Now some of these guys, some of you will ask, so what are you saying? Are you saying we shouldn't have an army? Are you saying we should? What is the solution? Many of these guys are going to say, what is the solution? You are saying surgical strike is not a solution. Invading Pakistan is not a solution. Bombing Pakistan is not a solution. What is the solution? First of all, I'll admit that I don't know necessarily what is the solution, but I can know what is not a solution. I may not know how to do something, but I'm quite clear on how not to do some things. I may not be able to tell you what we can do as a final resolution of our problems, but I'm pretty clear about what is clearly not going to end with a final resolution of our problems, and will actually end with, not even end with, actually continue to perpetuate the same problems that we have currently. An act of war is not going to end war. An act of war is going to continue war. An act of war is going to fuel war. Am I saying that we should never go to war? I don't know. I'm not sure I have enough information, enough data to make that kind of a statement. So I'm not going to talk about not going to war at any time or not going to war at all times. I'm not going to make that statement. What I am saying is that being provoked to go to war by the death of 40 CRPF Jawans who were killed by a suicide bomber armed with a car loaded with explosives is a bad idea. And I suspect that Government of India knows this already, Indian Army knows this already. I think a lot of the war drums are not about actually wanting to go to war. I could be wrong on this, but this is what I think. I don't think anybody really wants to go to war. What they are doing, this whole saber rattling and drumming the war machinery thing, is for your consumption. It is making a fool of the Indian public one more time. It is being done with an eye on the elections. Don't be a fool. They're making a fool of us. They're making fools of us. This is propaganda. Let's not be fools. Let's go back to that question. What is the solution? What is the solution? The answer is A, from my side, because I am not an expert on this. I don't necessarily have the solution, or I don't have a solution. I'm not going to claim to have a solution. But I'm going to add one more thing. Not every problem has an immediate one-stop solution. Not every problem has a magic bullet kind of a solution. Shoot the monster with this silver bullet, shoot the vampire with this silver bullet, and you will kill the monster. That kind of a solution. We imagine again and again, and people try to sell us the idea again and again that there are magic bullet solutions, that there are silver bullets that will kill the monster. I don't think so. There aren't any such magic bullet solutions. Not every problem can be solved. I'll go so far as to say that some problems you just live with. They're like chronic diseases. They're like AIDS. If you get AIDS, you live with it. There may not be a cure. You treat the symptoms. Be careful not to aggravate the symptoms. But you don't necessarily have a cure. Some things which you can cure, you cure. And if you can't cure it, you live with the disease. I'm not saying this is necessarily the case with this problem, but I'm saying that in general, there are problems that you have to live with. Let me give you another instance of such a problem. Poverty. I don't want to be cynical here, but I suspect that poverty is not a problem you can solve. You can't have a country with only rich or only middle class people. There is no such thing as a country with only rich or only middle class people. You can try to reduce the depth of poverty, but you can't entirely remove poverty, because poverty has many causes and it's not necessarily something we can change in this lifetime, at least in the foreseeable future. Similar problems exist. There are interpersonal problems, husband and wife problems. There is no final resolution. You just live with the problem. You think that divorce will solve the problem. Sometimes they don't. The divorce just makes things even worse. It might have been wiser to just live with the problem. Try to manage the problem on a day-to-day basis. Take one day at a time. Something that like that may hold good for Pakistan and the Kashmir problem. Take life one day at a time. Try to make that one day peaceful. Don't buckle in. Then again, don't send people to die. Don't provoke, don't cause provocation. Don't rattle the saber and cause war, because war will mean death on both sides. If you have war because of these 40 Jawans, maybe 400 will die, maybe 4,000 will die. I don't know. I don't know how many soldiers will die and how many civilians will die. and what consequences will be suffered by our economy, and what long-term consequences, what long-term fallouts will come from that. Overall, I'm just saying war is a terrible idea. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. I don't expect you guys to like me or love me. I'm just speaking my mind. You can speak your mind. You can say something positive or say something negative. That's okay. You have a right. I won't delete any comments. Go ahead. I'm just speaking my mind. Just one guy saying what he thinks. Good night.